Ladies, are you the one who gets it all done? Always pushing forward? Always striving? In the constant chase for success, when was the last time you took a moment just for you? We're always on the go, rushing from one task to the next, barely pausing to catch our breath. What if we took a moment to pause? Imagine listening in, really listening, to the wind, to your heartbeat, to your soul. What if slowing down was the key, a chance to discover a deeper connection with yourself? And from that connection expand it to those you love, to the moments that truly matter. Pause, reflect, connect. It's time to live fully from the inside out. Good morning, everyone. I feel like I'm a little discombobulated. It's been a moment since we've done a live here, and I want to welcome you to A Soulful Pause. Somehow I am just totally off. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Make sure you can see me. So welcome. A Soulful Pause is where we have conversations with women that are conscious and are looking to shift the world paradigm. And so I have a great guest with you today. My name's Josette Diaz, and I am your host. I am a self-awareness coach for women in midlife, and I run a beautiful community called The Art of Awareness. So if you're interested in doing something that's outside the box, isn't your usual, then you may want to come and check that out. So I have a wonderful guest here with me this morning, Miss Holly Beck, and she runs a wonderful podcast as well called the Health Bridge podcast. And Holly is a health and mindset coach who helps women with lupus regain energy and reduce flares naturally. Holly has spent the last 20 years finding her own road back to health after severe mono left her with chronic fatigue, a weak immune system, and eventually lupus. Holly's mission is to empower women stuck in the confusing chronic health space. By walking them through her Health Bridge protocol, her clients become the leaders of their health experience instead of feeling enslaved by their autoimmune condition. So I'm going to bring Holly on in. And good morning, Holly. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here as well. And so I'm sorry, I'm just doing a little backstage thing here. So give me one moment. I want to make sure that we're going in here. I have something happening on the back end, so forgive me for a moment.
Welcome to doing things live.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Always fun.
I've never done the lives myself, so I commend you for figuring it out.
Thanks for understanding. It's been a minute since I've done the live on my Instagram, so it's kind of giving me a little bit of a hard time. Regardless, we're going to end up over there. So I just wanted to let's get started on our conversation, and I'll figure out the rest later.
Okay.
So we may end up putting the recording onto Instagram. So just to let you know that. So Holly, let me get back to you. So you say in your bio that you spent 20 years finding your own road back to your health, and that is a long journey that you had to take in order to get back to that place where you could feel healthy again, or at least manage. So in that healing journey from chronic fatigue to lupus, how did you do that? And can you kind of like give us a little bit of a timeline on how your journey was when you were beginning to seek the truth of your own wellness?
Sure. I always say there's two starts to my health journey. The obvious one was coming down with mono, and this was in my early 20s. And I was just knocked flat on my back by mono. Most people get it when they're young and they can kind of bounce back, but I was in my 20s, and that's, I think, considered old for mono. So it really knocked me down. I was out of work for a month and a half, and I just was never really, I never felt the same afterwards. I was chronically fatigued. Had just a very weak immune system, and I was going back to the doctor over and over, and my labs looked quote unquote normal. So, there wasn't active mono going on anymore. So they just didn't really have anything to offer me other than giving me a chronic fatigue diagnosis, and that hopefully it would go away within 2 years, is what they told me.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so it was not very helpful. And I figured out right away that I'd have to figure this out on my own. Um, so I slowly started dipping my toes into, some energy medicine, some acupuncture, things like that. But
Mhm.
at that point, I was mostly just trying to get my life back and act normal, like a normal 20
Yeah.
something, and try to go out with friends and do all the things.
Mhm.
And I could do that for spurts, and then I get knocked down, and then I do it for spurts, and then I'd get knocked down. I'd get sick or just exhausted and couldn't do much other than the basics of getting to work and back. And so that cycle just went on for a really long time. Um, Eventually, years and years and years later, and this was after I was already seeking out herbal medicine. I was going to school to be an herbalist, and going that path, really trying to find ways to take health into my own hands. Um, it wasn't until 2018 that I actually ended up with a lupus diagnosis as well. And it was interesting. I think most people would be really taken aback by a diagnosis like that.
Yeah.
I knew that something else was going on. So to me, I was almost excited, which sounds very strange. But I was like, oh my God. So it's definitely not all in my head. There
Right.
is something actual going on. And now I have direction on, being able to better care for myself with this new information. So
Yeah.
I kind of took it and ran with it and was like, all right, what do we do now? So it was an interesting journey there. But I say there's two starts to the story. That was just where the very obvious health part started. But
Mhm.
really, in all of my understanding now, I know that it really started way before that, with emotional stuff, with
Mhm.
life that was going on,
Yeah.
with being in a very negative relationship, an unhealthy relationship. I was having health issues before mono that I didn't realize were stress related. I've come to find out now, of course, that they were all due to just chronically holding things in and holding in stress and not speaking my mind and my truth, and hiding myself away, compartmentalizing things. And it exploded into a major health issue right after I had gotten out of that relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I think I'm relating so much to your story because I have a daughter who has struggled with what is undiagnosed, we think could be POTS. So having those flares and those, moments. And then I really resonate with what you were saying around um, the fact that once you got that diagnosis, it felt like a celebration, even though no one goes, "Oh, yay." So, because I've had those experiences in my own life when, you struggle with trying to find out, well, what's going on with this, that, and the other. So when you were able to hone in on exactly what it was and you started exploring those emotional pieces and seeing that it started farther back than maybe you realized. I don't think that we always think that what goes on in our life and how we feel really matches up to our physical health sometimes. So going through this journey makes you such a great leader, to help other women with lupus. And how do you use your health bridge protocol, excuse me, um, and what are the key pillars of that method, and how does that shift the healing experience? Because having a container, I think, is so important, especially when you've been searching until you finally get some answers and know what it is you have.
Mhm. Well, I put together my health bridge protocol after years of trying this, trying that, trying to figure out what path was going to help me, going down paths that I thought would help me, like the herbalism path.
Mhm.
I took that on fully. I was trying to shove as many plants as I could into my body at any given day and time, thinking that they were magical saviors and that they were going to completely heal me. And I'm not talking negative about herbal medicine. I still use
Mhm.
it. I just use it now more as specific medicine rather than an entire life overhaul, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
because I finally had to get to a point where I was realizing this isn't helping me as much as I've been taught that it should. With the amount
Mhm.
of things that I'm doing for myself with herbal medicine, supplements, herbal tinctures, teas, plant-based eating, this
Right.
was not helping me get better. Was it helping keeping me from getting worse? Probably.
Mhm.
But it wasn't getting me to the point where the dial was moving where I wanted it to. So I kept exploring and I shifted even more. I changed my diet completely. I took plants almost completely out of my lifestyle,
Mm.
um, for a time period, and I started feeling better.
Oh,
I got
that's interesting.
way more energy. Yeah. Um, and it's interesting too because if you study lupus or if you have lupus, you're always told plant-based, plant-based, red meat is the devil.
Okay.
All these inflammatory foods are stuff, things that you should stay away from. Those are the things that actually started healing me. Um, and everybody has a different experience. I'm not saying that's necessarily the same for every single person with lupus, but I found significant change with that. Um, so I was starting to narrow in on things that were moving the dial forward. And those are the things that are really the basics of health, the basic fundamentals of health. What does your body need on a foundational level to support its immune system, to support energy production, to support lowering inflammation? And the reason I called it the health bridge is because you need to build a strong foundation, right? So you need to build that solid foundation for the pillars of your bridge
Yeah.
to be stable so that you can then build your bridge to walk across from what I call, essentially your hell island and walk across to heaven island. Walk across from your pain to reconnecting with your purpose and your passions in life.
Mm.
Because for me, I just felt so held back by my limitations of, very low energy. And I have so many, I'm a multi passionate individual. I have so many things that I'm interested in and that light me up, but I wasn't able to invest my time and energy into it because I didn't have the energy to invest. And so I wanted to get to that place. I wanted to cross the bridge to where I did have energy and time to invest in the things that really lit me up. And so I see this with a lot of women that have lupus or other autoimmune conditions. They have so much light to give to the world,
Yeah.
and they are feeling so held back and so unable to connect with that. And so my mission with helping other women build up those foundational pillars of health for themselves so that they can reconnect with that purpose and bring more light into the world, because the world is crazy right now
Yeah.
and we need your light. We need you to follow your passion,
Mhm.
whatever that is. That could be your family, could be your passion, and or giving to your grandkids, or it could be your business, your side hustle. It could just be that craft that you love doing, or gardening that you love doing. And we might not think of planting your own garden in your backyard as being something that contributes to the overall light of the world, but it does, because you're putting that energy out there and it's feeding you. And when your light is lit up, you can help light up others.
Ugh, I love that. I love that you said that, because I think that we always think that it has to be something big and grandiose and, visible, and it really doesn't. It doesn't need you're not everyone is meant to, be in a visible place or create a business or something like that around their passion. I have a friend who says she loves a lot of different things too, and when, we talk about, doing something within your passion, she said, "I don't wanna turn any of my passions into business, because then I won't feel passionate about them anymore." And I really think that that is so true. I think that if you, focus in on the things that you really love, like you said, light you up, that really is kind of the catalyst that shifts. It's that energy that you were speaking of that really spreads, and I love that you bring that up and you teach that and you speak of it. I'd like to know, since you were talking about the bridge that you built from Hell Island to Heaven Island, what would you say was one of the mindset shifts that you could make as you were building that bridge to get to the other side that helped you the most that you could share?
Absolutely. There is, and the way I've gone about this has probably shifted a little bit over the years.
Mhm,
But what I teach women now is there really is the one most powerful mental shift that you can make in your journey, whatever that journey
mhm,
is um, starting out your morning before you even put your feet on the ground while you're still in bed. When you have an autoimmune condition or some kind of physical ailment, we tend to wake up and we do a body scan.
mhm,
And we're like, okay, how am I feeling right now? Am I still tired? Am I exhausted? What hurts? And we start going through all the things that are wrong and that we're going to have to like overcome this day if we want to even get out of bed. And I'm going to tell you to completely stop doing that as an automatic response when you get up in the morning. What I want you to do instead is start as soon as you're conscious and your brain is like, okay, I'm awake. What am I doing? I want you to start with the statement, I believe in, and then fill in the blank. Before you start thinking about how your body feels, before you start thinking about your to do list and all the things that have to happen, I believe in. And so for me, that might be, I believe in my body's ability to heal itself,
mm,
or I believe in my God given right to feel joy today, or I believe in God's purpose for me. You can fill it in with whatever feels right to you. But if you start your day off with those thoughts, you can physically feel a difference in the way you're going about your morning. And it shifts it from, oh God, I don't feel good. My back still hurts. I'm still exhausted and I just slept for 10 hours. It halts that.
mm,
And you can spin that to starting with gratitude. You can do a gratitude journal and just write 3 things you're grateful for, or think 3 things you're grateful for. if that's easier. That's what I did for a very long time, was start with the gratitude. I've just switched it more recently to I believe in, because I think that's even more powerful and gets really straight into the point. But just doing that can really start to make a great impact on how you start to connect with life just moving forward. And that one thing will make such a shift in your life.
When you say that, when you first introduced that concept of shifting to I believe in, I just felt so immediately grounded.
Yes.
And I really think that's a beautiful way to start your day. It also feels like it sets intention. Do you remind yourself of that throughout the day, like what you believe in?
Yeah, I do. I try to take little timeouts. Thinking that thought can take 5 seconds, right? So if you're in the middle of something busy at work, or, you're hitting every single red light and you're in a hurry, or whatever it is that's throwing you off, you can stop and be like, but I still believe in,
Yeah, yeah.
and just
Right?
recenter.
Yeah, it sort of re-anchors you.
Exactly.
Yeah, what you just said, recenters you. Same thing.
And if your statement happens to be, I believe in God's purpose for me, it takes the pressure off of yourself,
Mhm,
because you don't have to figure everything else out. If you believe in God's purpose, or the divine, or source, or the universe,
mhm,
and what it has laid out for you, then it takes that pressure off of, I have to figure everything out for myself. And it puts the emphasis on, I can trust what's ahead of me.
mm.
And if you can relax into trust, that can help to calm that anxiety and overwhelm.
I really love that. I think, any practice that you can find that brings you back into that internal center, that calm space, the eye of the storm place within you, you can't you will always come back to yourself over and over and over again. So it's a beautiful practice that you're creating. And I want to kind of go back a little bit because you said a couple things that strike me as really important. And I know we touched on them, but I'd like to see if we can get a little bit deeper into it. And that would be, you spoke of mindset, and you spoke of how you found that your diagnosis started way before, and it happened in those ways that you didn't take care of yourself emotionally. And I would like to ask, did you find that as you healed those parts of yourself and then started having a voice and giving a voice to what was happening internally, did you find more healing on that path as well, hand in hand with the it sounds like you've kind of sort of slashed some of the ways that uh, many people are told in how to handle lupus with their diet, that kind of like you found were I'm trying to search for the word, so I'm fumbling a little bit, but the word that I want to use is like it's the invisible truth of it. So
Hmm.
can you kind of share a little bit of both of those things? Because I think that's very interesting and also important if someone's listening who is starting on this journey.
Yeah, definitely. Mindset by far was the thing that moved the dial the most in my
Mm,
health journey. And I started going to a women's group,
okay.
um, probably 10 years ago now. And I was so quiet at the beginning of this, but it was set up in a group format where we'd sit in a circle, and we all had a chance to voice something that we were maybe struggling with or needed some guidance on in our life. And we were using oracle cards, so we could pick a card, and then the women in the circle could chime in with any insight that they might have.
Mhm.
And it was a really, really supportive way to A, start to actually voice some of my struggles with emotional stuff, with health stuff, the whole spectrum,
Yeah.
and get feedback from, um, I call them my wise women, you know,
Yeah.
and women need to come, I think, in community. I think the community aspect is so, so vital for women specifically. Um, and it was a way that started opening me up, opening my heart up to be comfortable in speaking to these things, and then also opening my voice up, and actually physically speaking them out loud versus keeping things in, because I have always had a strong tendency to keep everything in and not speak
Mhm.
anything that I'm struggling with out loud,
Yeah.
which I understand now creates stagnation in the body and can lead to physical symptoms.
Right.
So I know that for me, that's all tied in. And so being in this women's circle helped me see things maybe in different light, see things in different perspective, learn how to do some energy clearing, how to shift my mindset a little bit. And slowly these things started taking hold, and then I started seeing a spiritual mentor who used to speak in San Diego,
Mhm.
and he teaches Course in Miracles. And Course in Miracles is really all about mindset and
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
And that's where I started learning how to recognize my limiting beliefs, how to recognize um, the thoughts as they came in, and
Yeah.
be able to say, oh, wait, I'm doing that thing again, where I'm putting boundaries up on and limitations up on what is available to me.
Mhm.
And I could start to switch the script. And that alone was life changing, because
Mhm.
I didn't really understand up until then that I'm not my thoughts. I'm just
Right.
the observer of my thoughts. It's
Yeah.
like, what? These things aren't actually me? Once you realize that, you can change so much about your life. And
Mhm.
so it's not that those things necessarily shifted what was going on physically in the moment, but it changed my experience with my health and how I was how I was going through symptoms. If I had a flare up of fatigue, or while my as I was going up towards my lupus diagnosis, it was coming out of my skin, so I was having a bald patch on my scalp. And
Yeah.
that's really freaky when you're a woman.
Right? Yeah. I can
Yeah.
only imagine. Yes.
So I'm not saying shifting my mindset completely took away fears, but
Sure.
it can help level you out and keep you grounded while you're experiencing fear or experiencing overwhelm. And so that was really the biggest thing, and that's my main pillar that I go through, the first pillar that I go through with women that I'm working with, because there really is a healing mindset. You have to be able to learn how to shift into a healing mindset in order for any of the things that you're doing for your health to actually have a real effect.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
go through the motions and you can do all the right things, and they still might not be working if you are still emotionally blocking it and keeping yourself in the same place.
Mhm. Mhm. I totally, I understand exactly what you're saying. I love that you spoke of A Course in Miracles. I've been a student myself since for a long time, and, I agree. It's like it's the biggest teacher I had in teaching me how to be the observer. And, I love that you really hone in on, like, we do think our thoughts are who we are. And when we start to recognize that the thoughts are just the repetitive chatter of a pattern or a habit or a belief, then you can really shift anything you want, like you said. And the power that you have in your own mind, what I hear you saying and expressing within yourself, the power, using your mind as a power to help you heal
Mm-hmm.
is really key. And one of the biggest, like you said, is your first pillar.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of strength in that first pillar.
Yeah. And the body responds to the mind. The
Mhm.
mind doesn't respond to the body,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, maybe if you're in an acute situation, you break your arm or you're in a car accident, like we're not
Right.
talking about that. We're
No.
talking about these long ingrained, deep rooted health issues.
Mhm.
We feel like it might feel like our mind is responding to what's going on in our body, but it really is the opposite. And if we can learn and look at it that way, it
Mhm.
changes the whole perspective on what healing is.
Yes. Yes, and you have to have a willingness to surrender to that idea, right? I
Hmm.
think that is one thing that, I think can be difficult for some people to get, wrap their head around and, surrender to that. D Was that something that you found that was easy for you to do?
No, I wouldn't say easy. It's a process for sure. But it's definitely a key element, and we do go through the art of surrender
Mm,
in my program because that is, like you said, such an important aspect of let's we can surrender to the things that are outside of our control, while still being proactive in how we perceive it, and how we respond to it. So we're trying to get out of reaction and into response.
yes,
Yeah.
that's such a
That's
good point.
Mhm.
So,
So
out of all of this wonderful journey that you've been on, because it truly, I know that it doesn't feel good when we're going through the pain of our own experiences or the frustration and complication, and you were really young when this was going on. And, out of that, though, is there anything that if you were to sum it up, what would you say to someone who's starting out or feels stuck and overwhelmed when they first hear that they have lupus or an autoimmune disorder?
I would tell them that you are perfect as you are right now in this moment, with a diagnosis, with symptoms, with flares. I know it doesn't feel that way, but you are, and that your diagnosis is an invitation
Mm,
to learn how to love yourself deeper.
that gives me chills.
I wish somebody would have told me that so many
Right?
times along the way.
It's really true.
Yeah, I've learned to see it that way. And
Mm,
I don't think that seeing it that way comes naturally, especially in the moment. But it's true. I think lupus
mm,
specifically, but any health challenge, any real big life challenge really is, to me, I say God, is God's invitation to, like, look, you haven't been listening close enough. I'm
yeah.
trying to show you that you are worthy of my love.
Mm,
And it's like things start small, right? I didn't
yeah,
start out with lupus. It was a long, slow build to get there. And
right.
it was because I kept kind of missing the mark or missing the clues of, like, no, I need to focus on myself more. I need to not give myself away so much. And so a symptom comes in, oh, well, we fix that. Another symptom comes in, okay, well, I can manage that.
Yeah.
Another symptom comes in, and they get just a little bit more and a little bit more until it's like, okay, here's lupus because I need you to get this lesson.
Right,
You're worthy
right.
of love.
Wow. I think that that really puts things in perspective so much, Holly. That is, if we continue to, I mean, I've had this experience in a different way, not in a health way, um, where life will crumble around you or something else happens if you aren't getting it.
Mhm.
It just keeps upping the ante so that you must pay attention.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it's not like you have this epiphany and then it's like, "Oh, I'm worthy of love," and
Mhm.
boom, everything falls into place. I'll just put that out there right now, but it's a unfolding process,
Right.
and it goes on for it's what life is about, I think. It's never this journey's never gonna end. I still have so many layers,
It's
but
true.
I'm so much different than I was even just a few years ago.
Mhm.
I could never use my voice. I was terrified to use my voice, and now I have a podcast with over 100 episodes. Like, that's insane to me.
And it's a really good podcast.
And you were just on it, everyone, so make sure you check out our episode.
Yeah, it was such a great time. I really loved it. I would like to know if there's anything else that you want to share about your work, anything you have coming up that you would like to, let the audience know about. Please, go right ahead and take the floor.
Sure. Well, just one more three-step thing that I think is really helpful if anybody's really going through a major struggle, whether that's autoimmune, whether that's, maybe a relationship or something. Um, Three things that I found that can really help with stopping the anxiety and the overwhelm spiral and get you back towards hope and refocusing on that purpose and passion. um, First is to really just start paying attention to recognizing the triggers of the overwhelm, or if it's lupus, the triggers of your flares.
Mhm.
Usually those are some sort of emotional stressors. So just really creating awareness around what's going on, and when I start feeling in overwhelm or when I start flaring, um, what was going on, what was starting to trigger that. And when you can start tracking that, um, that's kind of a first step towards finding ways to manage that situation and
Mm,
calm that down. Um, think of it, I was thinking of it kind of like doing a time audit. I have a business coach who's having me do a time audit, and she has it set up so that there are, I'm like logging in, okay, from, 6 to 6:30 I did this, from 6:30 to 7 I did this. And then one of the things is, well, did that feed me or did that
mm,
take away from me?
mhm,
In other words, did it help my energy? Did it give me energy? Did it light me up, or did it drain my energy? And so
mhm,
you can kind of think of it just mentally going through your day of like, what are the things that are lighting me up and helping the overwhelm and anxiety calm? Or what are the things that are triggering those feelings of tightness and anxiety?
yeah,
And they're draining me, right? Because the more things that drain you, the more likely you're going to get into, autoimmune flares or emotional anxiety and overwhelm.
mhm,
The second step would just be to find a quick practice of recentering and grounding. So it could be using the I believe in
mm,
statement. It could be doing a quick 1 to 5 minute, stop and breathe. I
mhm,
find that box breathing is really powerful. And that's when you are breathing in for, say, a count of 5, holding for a count of 5, breathing out for a count of 5, and holding for a count of 5. That starts to calm the breath and regulate your heart rhythm.
Mhm.
And for anybody that wants to do a visualization while you're doing that, uh, visualize that you're breathing in through your heart space
Mm.
instead of your, through your nose.
Mhm.
That again will kind of help create that heart coherence. And um, I did a podcast on this early on with a doctor who was studying awe and the power of awe, like that emotion of awe. And so while you're doing that breath, if you can think of an experience or a person or a situation that brings you a sense of awe or a sense of joy, those are very high energy emotions. Like for me, the one that always gets me there is thinking of my dog because I love him so much and he's like the most adorable thing in the entire universe. And so it puts me in that feeling of joy.
Yeah.
And so just hold that feeling in your heart and breathe it in while you're breathing. Breathe it in through your body, through every cell. And then if you can release the image of whatever it was that got you there and just hold that emotion for 30 seconds, for 5 minutes, however long you can sustain that, and just breathe it throughout your
Mm.
body. That creates heart coherence. That creates a physical calming in your body. It calms your vagus nerve. It calms that fight or flight response, and that can help get you back to center in the middle of overwhelm. So that's just something that I've been practicing a lot lately, especially just to to really make sure that's anchored in my routine, and it is extremely helpful. And then the third thing is just spend time discerning your why or that thing that lights you up.
Mhm.
So again, maybe that's your family, maybe that's playing with your dog, maybe that's, um, you know, like I love to make jewelry. So whatever craft or hobby or whatever thing is that lights you up, find your why, find your passion that can help
Mhm.
keep you moving forward, that you want to keep putting time and energy into, and that will help pull you out of those darker places.
Mm. I love that. Like, you've really centered it, bringing it back into your heart, and
Mhm,
your practice with the using the, power did you say the power of awe, right?
mhm, yeah,
Is such expression of your heart. It's gonna do more than just bringing you back to center. It's a vibration that then
mhm,
extends out past you, which so you're doing lots of things by just doing that one thing,
exactly.
and, that sets your life up. I love your practices. They're absolutely beautiful.
And the doctor that, was researching the power of awe and doing a practice just like the one I just
Yeah.
took you through, he's a doctor that specializes in pain management, and so he uses that with his patients.
Mm,
And they find that their pain levels go down when nothing else will take it down. No medications. So anybody that's experiencing lots of physical pain and discomfort with their autoimmune, I highly recommend doing this practice.
wow.
Mhm.
I love that. I think that these are the things that are so important to, incorporate in our lives, and you mentioned this in the beginning of our conversation about how you were feeding yourself all these herbs and plants, and it wasn't getting you anywhere that you needed to go. In fact, it was kinda holding you back in a way,
Mhm.
and, I think when we throw so much into our body thinking we can fix it from the outside in, and it's really an inside out, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Spot on.
yeah.
So I am creating my first group of women.
Mhm.
I'm looking for my next community of women to go through my protocol together because I think like working one on one is very powerful, but I find that when I've gone through group scenarios,
Mhm.
it's so much more healing because you're all in it together and you're all there to support each other. So I am looking for my next group of women that want to really, you know, move through pain and towards their purpose in life.
Mm.
Um, and I have, for anybody that wants to sort of dip their toe and see what has really been some of the things that move the dial for me, some really simple steps in a daily routine. I do have a free daily lupus guide and symptom tracker that I would love to give to anybody that's interested. I don't know if you have somewhere where you can drop a link for that, but
Yeah,
okay.
definitely do.
Yeah.
'Cause we're
And
on YouTube too.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
this will apply to you don't have to have lupus to follow this protocol. Honestly, this will help anybody that's struggling. Or if you're like, well, I'm healthy, but just kind of feeling overall stuck, this is still something that you can incorporate into your day that would up level your health on more of that mitochondrial cellular level, as
Mm.
well as affecting the heart and the mindset space. Yeah, so that's a powerful tool, and I'd love to give that to anybody that's interested. And I'm on Instagram mostly at I am Holly Beck. I'm sure you'll have the link, but
Yeah.
and my podcast is the Health Bridge podcast, and we're on all the platforms, YouTube and Spotify, and all the other things.
Great, that's wonderful. I'm gonna make sure that the links are in every place that we are placing, A Soulful Pause, which is YouTube and Instagram, so it will be there. Instagram has its own, after I do the, live podcast with people, I put it on A Soulful Pause, which is its own handle, so you'll be able to find replays there, and, of course, on my YouTube channel, so I will have all the things for you, Holly, because I really believe in what you're doing, and I think that, if you're out there trying to figure things out, you don't have to do it alone. There's someone beautiful like Holly to help you, and she has been through it. She has been through it, and she's built that bridge, so I wanna thank you. I really love having heartfelt conversations with women that are doing powerful things, and you are one of those people. I've just followed you and known you for, some time now, and, from the moment that I met you, I just knew you were an important person that I wanted to, know, and, so I thank you so much for being here and having this conversation with us.
Absolutely, and this is definitely going to be on my time audit as something that lit me up today.
Good, I'm
So
so
thank
glad.
you.
We made the timeline. That's
Thank you, Josette. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you, Holly, and, for all of you out there, we will see you, next week. All right, take care.